Hey there, YouTube family. It's Allison Bright from Determined to Shine, where we use the magic formula of creativity, spiritual connection, and community to bring forth joy in our lives. I have been absent from the channel for a while, and I will be back soon, I promise. I know I've said it before, but lots is finally coming together. I wanted to pop in today to give you a little treat. I taught a class earlier today for my online community, and it's all about using the star card from the tarot along with selenite to call in hope and just bring forth some clarity for the new year. We had a lot of fun talking about the symbolism on the card, how to use the crystals, and how to put them together, and we did a great meditation too. So I'm going to go ahead and follow this up and let you watch the whole replay for the class. And I do have a special offer at the end, and I will pop that in the comments below. So enjoy the class, have a great time, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. All right, everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Allison Bright. For those of you who don't know me, I am the founder, president, whatever you want to call it, of Determined to Shine. We are an online community that focuses on using creativity, spiritual connection, and community to make awesome lives. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what we do. And today we're going to be talking about specifically using tarot and crystals together to intentionally bring forth really whatever you want. But specifically today, we're going to talk about calling in hope using the star card and selenite, which is one of my favorite stones. So just to give you a little outline, I'm going to talk about tarot for just a couple minutes in case some of you are brand new. Then we're going to go into the details of the card and then the stone. Then I'm going to share an offer that I have coming up, which you're totally welcome to opt in or out of, depending on what you'd like. And then we're going to do a guided meditation at the end so I can leave you all glowy. And then if you want to, you'll also be welcome to do a Q&A at the end. So that's kind of where we are headed. So let's dive in. So depending on where you are at, you may or may not be super familiar with tarot. You may have done a lot of it. You may have done none of it. Essentially, what a tarot deck is 78 cards, just like that. And they all have a specific meaning attached. Now, you might hear about oracle decks, and oracle decks are really easy to learn. You pick a card, it has a meaning. Sometimes it's right on the card. You don't even have to do anything else. And sometimes you look in the guidebook for meaning. But when you're using tarot, it's a lot more intimidating, and it can be really scary because even though there are books that come with it and explain everything, we're usually using multiple cards at a time and trying to get more information and answers, and it can be super overwhelming. I know that I bought like 10 tarot decks before I ever really started diving into them because I am such a, I love collecting things, right? So that's kind of the basics. So essentially what I would do is I like to start by, actually I clear my deck with selenite, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I like to put my cards at my heart, take a deep breath, and then ask a question. So I would say, like, what do I need to know today? And then I would shuffle, pull one card, and then based on whatever card I pulled, I would either use the images on the card to gather the meaning to the answer to my question, or I would turn to that guidebook that came with the deck or that I bought separately to get the meaning of the card and the answer. And then when you put them together, you can get more information or ask more questions. But as easy as that sounds, it can just get a little overwhelming. And so I'm really proud of the fact that I like to make tarot easy. We have to just take out the overthinking, right? Like you don't have to let it be so scary. And so often if you can look at it card by card and learn and then kind of get to know the cards, then all of a sudden you can get all these layers and meanings. And even when you pull them again, you can remember the last time you pulled it. And it's really like such a magical process. So a tarot deck has 78 cards. There are 22 what we call major arcana cards that are like have archetypes. So we're going to look at one of those shortly with the star. And then there are 4 suits of the other cards, much like playing cards, right? You have hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades in a playing card deck. And in a tarot deck, you have cups, wands, swords, and pentacles. So we're not going to go into all of that right now because, I mean, that could be a whole 5 hours just on explaining what tarot is, but I just wanted to give you a little nugget in case it's new to you. Specifically,
why I like to use tarot with crystals is that so often I think like life is hard, right? And so I like to have a deep tool belt of spiritual stuff. I practice Reiki energy healing. I love to journal. I love to meditate. I love tarot and I love crystals. And when we can add these things together, we can amplify what we're trying to bring forward or what we're trying to learn or how we're trying to feel, right? Because we talk about wanting to like lead a life we love or create the life we imagine, and that all sounds very pretty, but what that kind of translates to is this idea of how do we want to feel? How do we want to wake up in the morning? How do we want to feel? What do we want to bring forward? Because so often we think that life is about reaching the destination with a specific accomplishment, when it's really much more about how we want to feel every day. And so when we put tarot and crystals together, we can magnify that because we're giving ourselves multiple cues and multiple techniques. When I say cues, I like visual cues in the sense that I might decide, okay, I want to spend more time, like I want to focus better. I want to like cut out my distractions, right? And so I could decide that I was just going to do that, and then I have to kind of remember. But if I have, this is a piece of fluorite on my desk, this is a great crystal for focusing, and then when I see it, I can say, oh yeah, that's my goal. That's my goal, right? So you give yourself these reminders to pull forward. So we're going to talk about using the cards intentionally versus in a reading, but we're first going to dive into the specific card that we're talking about today, and that is the Star. Looks just like this. Actually, there's a ton of different versions of it in whatever deck you choose to work with. There are a gazillion tarot decks out there with all kinds of themes. Most popular is what's called the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and for me, I don't love those images. They just aren't appealing to me, right? Like, meh. Yeah, Katie says she loves the Star. It's so happy. It so is. It so is. So this is from Sawyer's Path Tarot, and this one kind of Jamie Sawyer, the artist, reinterpreted the original symbolism. So it's all still here, but it looks different. And then this is from the Mermaid Tarot, and you'll see it's much different. But as you learn to get to know the cards, you'll discover that they can overlap in that way, and you can kind of attach your own meanings. So here's why I love the Star. So if you look at tarot as a journey, and we're going to do this in the class I'm offering, but just if you don't want to take that just as a guide, like we start at the beginning of, exploring something new with the Fool card, and then we go through and they kind of go in order with the cycles of life and how we go through things in the world. And the Star comes right after the Tower. And the Tower card is a big scary card. Nobody likes it, but it essentially is like the destruction of something. So maybe you have a breakup, or you're moving, or you lose a job, or make a big change, right? Usually it's kind of painful, not always, but it's a hard end. But what that means is then after that, we get a new beginning, okay? And the Star is like such a hopeful card, and that's what I wanted to talk about with using it to call in hope, because when you get so flustered and everything just feels off, the Star is the card I love to pull that makes me remember, like, take a breath, slow down, choose again, I've got this, right? Like, and just kind of look to your inner self and your heart and your spiritual guidance for that fresh slate. I'm going to talk a little bit about the symbolism on this card. So to start, typically there are 7 stars around one big star, but you will always see a big star at the top for the most part. And that's kind of your guidance, right? Like a guiding star. Think about the North Star as a tool for like orienteering. It's often also compared to the star that the wise men followed to Christ. So you can see it in many traditions that we talk about the star as a compass, right? So that's an indicator when you pull this card or using this card that you're getting or you're asking for that direction, that compass. Like, what am I going to do to start fresh? It really represents what I call a return to wholeness, because so often we just kind of forget who we are, and that like we are made of star stuff. I mean, you see like cute little things that say that, but it's really fascinating, and how, we're breathing the same air that like historical figures breathed, and we're all so connected. And so it really just makes me remember that I am whole all by myself, and I am whole with everyone, right? Like coming back to that uniting. And it really, to me, it just represents what I call a begin again moment. Like we were taking the past, we're clearing it out of the way, and now we're here to have our begin again. So the next piece of the symbolism is that the woman on the card is almost always naked. And the reason for that is it represents that you don't have to hide, that you can be who you are, you could be vulnerable, you can stand in your truth, be honest, and really own who you are without any masks or limitations. Now, I don't recommend you walk around in public naked if you pull this card, but just remembering to strip away anything that feels like it's in the way or creating a barrier between you and what you want to have in your life and where you want to be and all of that, right? Okay. And then finally, there is a red bird often on the card. And that is our reminder that we have the power to fly away. Like we have the power to launch into that new journey and leave that stuff behind and just really claim what feels good to us. And so I just love all of those people, all of those pieces. And I also kind of use it as what I call make a wish card, in the sense that like we are surrounded by stars. There are millions of stars, billions of stars everywhere. All we have to do is look up. We aren't alone. They've been there for eons, right? Like we are not alone in the world. And so it's that comfort of finding the direction and then seeing the bigger picture, so we're not so narrowly focused. And finally, I do think it's a reminder that we are the light in the darkness. How can you be your own star? How can you be someone else's star, right? So all of those pieces together gives you a lot to work with when you have a card. And this is why tarot can be intimidating, because it doesn't always seem very literal. Or sometimes in the answer to your question, like if you were asking a question about what to do about, say, a hard situation at work, and you pulled this card, you could go, well, what does that mean? Well, maybe it means that you need to look for some guidance, or maybe it means that you need to just be really honest and find that truth, or just be feeling into that. So that's where you get to interpret stuff, right? So when you pull it in a reading, those are all the kind of layers that you can take. And then again, depending on what deck you're using, taking in additional symbolism. So again, this is the Mermaid Tarot, and she's kind of blowing a seashell horn into the sky. And I really feel like this is such an example, again, of that truth piece, right? Like not being afraid to claim who you are and find that light in the darkness. So it's so much fun, right? So that's kind of how you pull it in a reading. But what I love to do is to use tarot on purpose. So if I'm feeling gunky and out of sorts and just kind of blah, I love using the star to like reset my energy. And so how I would do that is I would actually go through my deck and find this card, and I would pull it out and I would sit it right in front of me. I have 3 cards sitting in front of me on my desk right now. Or sometimes I put them in my bedroom, but like, this is again, that visual reminder of like, I'm calling in peace. And especially sometimes when we get really out of sorts, it can be hard to remember stuff, right? Like we can have all the spiritual tools, we know all the things, everything's feeling awesome, but then like something goes wrong and we start to spin, and all of a sudden we go into like lizard brain mode. We have no idea what's going on. We've forgotten that we have all these tools at our disposal, and surely the world's going to end and everything is going to be terrible, right? Like it's very easy to get into that catastrophizing. So I like having the cards out as that reminder, like, oh, I'm spinning. Oh, wait, I'm calling in hope today. I'm gonna embody this card. How can I call in hope today? And how can I get that guiding light? And so I love to meditate with the cards, or just, again, kind of hold it to my heart and set an intention or say a prayer, whatever language feels good to you, and really try to pull that energy forward. I've even seen, there's a woman who recommends putting this card under your pillow at night if you want to call in guidance in your dreams or something like that, right? So there's a lot of neat ways you can use it. So moving from that, how do we get to the crystals? So what I love to do is take each card in the tarot and add in a stone that matches that energy, because again, they magnify each other. So for the star, I chose selenite, and I chose selenite because it is a stone of clearing and a fresh start. So I have a couple pieces to show you. This is one, it's actually engraved. Okay, this is going to be hard to see because it's a little bit clear. So I have a palm stone, and then I have a wand as well. This is a little bit easier to see. It's usually kind of a clear whitish color, and it's super cheap, super affordable. And what's great about selenite is it's considered to be a stone of clearing. And what I mean by that is when something or someone feels gunky, you can use it to clear the energy. So whenever you have that feeling, like if you're in a house or something and something just feels off, or when you're around that person, that coworker that like makes you crazy and makes you just feel bad, or you know, when you say someone has bad vibes, you can use selenite to reset yourself or reset your house, you know, your husband, whatever, feels like it needs to come back into alignment. And so one of the ways I love to do this, and if you've taken classes with me before, you've seen this, is to take a wand and I literally just run it through my energy field. It's really funny when I teach this because I can feel like gunk coming off of me right now, right? So it's kind of funny that way. So that's like the clearing. You can also do that with the palm stone. I just find the wand to be more effective for that particular technique. You can also use selenite to clear objects. And what I mean by that is sometimes, you know, everything around us like collects energy. And sometimes it just doesn't feel good after either it's been like in a pile of clutter, or maybe somebody else was touching it and messing with it or whatever. And you can use it to get things clear. So I actually love to use this stone to clear my decks, because once I get a new deck in my hands, like other people have touched it, it went through the factory, it's been through all these places, and I want it to feel like mine. So I literally just set a selenite right like that. And then that will clear through the deck. And sometimes I do that for a long time, like I'll just leave it sitting on there, and sometimes it's just a one and done. And so that's kind of how we can use the selenite for that same sense of the fresh start, the guidance, that connection, that return to wholeness. Now, what's really fun is when you could put them together. And what I mean by that is if you can take, like, let's say you're having that really hard day, you're having that hard time. I still feel like we're coming out of 2020. Like it's 2023. And I feel like the last 3 years have been kind of globally a giant dumpster fire, right? And even in our personal lives, we're all still kind of just carrying that along with us. Like we haven't necessarily taken the time to heal or grow or make those shifts that we want to make. And so we can decide, I want to call in the guidance. I want to clear my slate. I want to start 2023 fresh, right? Like I just want to clear that away. So when we use them together, we can add extra cues, right? So again, you can, like I will often do something like this, and we're going to do a meditation at the end of the call. And I will explain how I would do that, but I often hold them together. And then what I can do is I can put this out on display, and I can carry this in my pocket, right? This is a little big for my pocket, but you can put the things together, and then you have multiple meanings and you have multiple visual cues. And then the other thing that happens is whenever you use one without the other, that association sticks. So when you reach for your selenite, you remember the star. And when you pull the star in a reading, you remember the selenite. And that's going to help you get closer with both your crystals and your cards. And that's why I love putting them together, because then you have that meaning attached every single time. And it's really great because it will give you more power with your spiritual tools. Yeah, so that's how I put them together. And then I like to meditate with them. Any questions on that so far? Okay, actually we'll do Q&A at the end. So we are going to, actually let's go ahead and do the meditation now, because I just feel like it. So if you have selenite or the star with you, you can certainly grab it, but you don't need to. But if you were doing this at home, you could use one or the other. You don't have to have everything in your possession to tap into it energetically, right? Like you can bring in those feelings at the same time in the same way. So I'm going to invite you to just take a minute to slow. And I know because I talk really fast, me talking about slow is pretty funny, but just taking a minute to ground yourself, take a breath, and I'm going to put my card and my stone at my heart chakra. And then I'm going to invite you to just close your eyes with me. And we're just going to do a short meditation. So taking a deep breath and release. Deep breath in and release. Each time you exhale, just imagine the weight of the day, the weight of the month, of the past year to just fall away. Let yourself feel supported by your chair, with your feet on the ground, and knowing that you are safe, you are loved, and you are enough. Taking in a breath. So I want you to imagine yourself at night in a place in nature that you love. And in your mind's eye, imagine a beautiful body of water, might be a lake, a pond, even the ocean. You are alone, but you do not feel alone. Notice what kind of sounds would you hear in this place? Are there insects singing like crickets? Do you hear waves on the shore? Just imagine whatever sounds would be present. And in your mind's eye, look up at the sky. And you see so many stars, stars everywhere. You've never seen this many before. And right in the middle is one shining brighter than any star you've ever seen. And you know that this star, this is your North Star, this is your guiding star. And then imagine a bright light coming down from that star in through the top of your head and filling up every cell in your body. So you are vibrating with that white, beautiful, shining light of the star. Now in your mind's eye, I invite you to ask whatever spiritual connection you work with, just to show you the path, show you what is ahead. Now in your mind's eye, put your hands out in front of you and imagine a beautiful piece of selenite appearing in your hands. And you can feel in your mind's eye how strong this is and how much the universe wants you to be able to release and let go and have that fresh start, that hope, calling in that hope. So imagine from your hands that same bright light coming in through your arms, through your body, and swirling all around you. You are completely connected. You are completely surrounded by love. You become so aware that you are not alone in this world. All of the worries and small things, even that felt like big things, can fall away. And then you can just say in your mind's eye, I call in hope. I call in hope right now. I call forward hope and trust and know that better days are ahead. And taking some more deep breaths, you can allow the light to go back into the stone and the star. And then when you're ready, taking a few deep breaths, and you can come back. Okay. Well, that's where the magic really happens, right? Because again, you can pull that visualization with the card, with the stone. Every time you pull the star from now on, you will likely think of that meditation. That tends to happen. Like Stones I've done meditations with. I had a really powerful meditation with green aventurine at one time. Every time that I touch green aventurine, I feel all of that again. So it's a really, really powerful way to bring all those things together. Okay. Floaty, floaty. Okay. Next up, I do have an offer to tell you about, and then we're going to do Q&A, and you can ask me whatever you want about tarot and crystals with one limitation, which I'll explain when we get there. So we have a class coming up at Determined to Shine that actually starts tomorrow, and it's called Rocking the Tarot. And this is a class, it's a 12-week program with 6 live calls, a big workbook, a whole bunch of stuff. And we're going to go through all 78 cards. You will get a stone to match every single card. We're going to dive into all of them like this, pull apart the symbolism. We're going to make a journal. We're going to learn how to read with the cards and the crystals at the same time. You're going to learn how to read just from crystals, just from cards, and how to put it all together. So it's a really deep program where we all get to learn together and take time to really learn these cards. And then that's where that confidence can really come from. And you'll have your own guidebook of your own interpretations, your memories with the cards. And then you can refer to that when you read cards. And it's so, so magical. So I'm super excited for that. I'm going to put the link in the chat. All the classes are recorded. So if you cannot attend live, it's totally fine. Especially because I know tomorrow is short notice, but we have the calls on Thursday nights, every other Thursday for the 12 weeks, and you can go at your own pace or you can come live, but it's going to be super fantastic. I've had a lot of people asking for new tarot and new crystal classes, so this is a great way to put them together. I mentioned on the Facebook group that I would have a special bonus for attending live. That is on the page. Your bonus is actually twofold. You'll get $50 off the regular price of the class, and I have a class that I taught a couple of years ago on creating your own wands from selenite, and so you'll get that for free as well, and that's usually retails for $59. So you get 2 bonuses, the discount and the bonus class. Everything is on that link page, and then the pricing will go back to the full price starting tomorrow. You could still join after that, but it will go back up. Some of you are already signed up. I can't wait to work with you, but I encourage you, if you liked this and you want to go further and you want to do more of this, then I really encourage you to sign up because it's going to be awesome. And I'm like so excited for how everything is coming together to really create this amazing experience. So the link is in the chat. You can check it out. Now, with all of my classes, I say opt in or opt out with love. I don't want you to feel any pressure. I'm super glad you're here today, and I hope you have loved everything we've done. Again, I'm going to take some questions in a minute, but just know that if you really loved this and it's calling to you, I really encourage you to go for it, because we can't make the changes without taking the steps, right? Like whatever we want to bring forward in our lives, if we don't give ourselves a chance to try something new or learn something new, we're going to keep getting the same results. And I really have found that studying more deeply and learning these things more deeply has really created magic in my life. So like really learning each card versus buying just another deck, right? As much as I love buying decks, like really allowing myself to get to know these cards that I have. So that is the program. The link is there. Would love it for you to check it out. And now I'm going to open up for any questions about anything. You can ask about tarot. You can ask about crystals. The only caveat is I am not at this time going to take questions about other tarot cards, because that would take like mountains and mountains of time. So we're not going to do like interpretation of other cards or those kind of things, but anything you want to ask about tarot in general, or the star or the selenite or other just crystals in general, same thing. We won't go into other stones today. The floor is yours. So you can either type in the chat or you can unmute yourself and talk, whatever feels good to you. Anybody? Okay, well then I guess I've done my job. Oh, Sandy, go ahead.
Yeah.
I see you.
I was looking at a deck I have that I intended to use tomorrow, and as I was going through it, it has swords, wands, pentacles, but instead of cups, it has hearts. Is that the same thing?
Yes, and that'll be totally fine. And as we go through the suits in the class, you'll learn that like they're gonna have the same kind of meanings. And so cups corresponds with our emotions and our feelings. And that's why they're using hearts, right? Because it's the same kind of concept. So sometimes you'll see decks too that say like water, earth, air, and fire for the 4 suits. So there's a lot of different ways those can show up in decks, but any deck you have is fine. And if you don't have a deck yet, that's okay too. I would encourage you to get one before, like as you're doing the class, if you guys don't have a deck, and I'm happy to recommend different ones depending on like what you love. So we can do that. And then with the crystals, I've told people, you know, don't go buy anything new. Like allow yourself to experience the cards, get to know them. And as we go through the stones, because there's 78 of them, you can get the ones that feel good to you as we are learning them. I'm not going to recommend going and buying 78 stones at once. That's going to be ridiculously expensive. And some will call to you more than others. Karen.
Is there a specific deck that you would recommend or choices? I mean, I've got a couple and I don't have the star in either of them.
Well, the star is going to be in every tarot.
Okay.
Because it is it's a major arcana card. Sometimes they will rename it to something else. But it should be there in its own form. So any tarot that you have, I should say, there are a couple things out there that are called tarot decks that are not. Okay. So you want to make sure it has the 78 cards. And then I would say to get what appeals to you. Like I did most of my learning with this mermaid deck because I love mermaids and I have a very like watery personality. So that's just the one I loved. And what I found is if you pick one that you really love the imagery, it's going to work better for you. A lot of people say beginners should only work with like that traditional deck. And I kind of call nonsense on that. Like, I think that it's not fair to ask ourselves to work with a deck that we don't like. If we don't connect to it, we're not going to connect to it. So just picking out one that you like. And if you're joining the class and you want help picking a deck, you can definitely like message me on Facebook. And I'm happy to talk through that with you because there are hundreds of decks out there, and you know we can find one that fits your personality. Katie says she uses the Astro Matrix deck, which has really awesome imagery that's more modernized RWS artwork. And RWS means Rider-Waite-Smith, which is that symbolism that we talked about that's on the cards that you would traditionally see in the media. And how we talked about like the stars, the naked woman, the bird, all those things being similar. Mary said her deck book has journal questions. A lot of them do, and they're really fantastic. And we will have things like that as well as we go through. Oh, Mary said the star is number 17. Sorry, thank you. I missed that earlier, your question, Karen. And we'll have some journaling questions and things too. The other thing I love to do is to attach a memory to each card. Like when have I had a star moment in my life? Or is there a person who embodies that to me? And then I can connect that as well. Like, and going back to that tower when there's a big crash down, right? Like that to me is like when I lost my husband, that was a tower moment. Like my whole world changed, right? And so that's the tower. And then coming out of that is the star. And so again, if we attach our personal memories, it's easier to relate to the cards of going forward. Other questions, comments, concerns, or wonderingments? Okay, so I'm gonna pop actually 2 links in the chat again. So here we go. Hold on. So the first link is just that the tarot link again to the class. The second link I'm putting up, and most of you, if you've been with me a while, you may have this already, but it is a freebie, and it's the 30-day self-worth booster journal. It is a fantastic little journal with daily journal prompts that you can use just to explore yourself more deeply. We've had a lot of people really loving it, totally free. It's like 90 pages because you can write in it. So, or you can just use the prompts and write in your own journal, but it's really a lovely way to boost that self-worth, because so often when we're not seeing what we want in our lives, or we're feeling gross, or we're feeling stuck, we can really be stuck to like not feel who we are, or we feel like we're not worth it, right? So we just like decide not to do the thing we want to do, or not to take the chance or the risk or whatever it is. And so using the self-worth journal can help you boost up some of those feelings where you don't have to feel quite so alone and you can feel more connected. And then I've just found it's a really nice practice. So it doesn't so much connect to this class today, but it does connect to everything. And I just wanted you to give you that as a thanks for coming. So that is the link for the journal. And then again, the class link is there as well if you would like to join us. All right, any other questions? Awesome. All right, well, I will set you all free. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a blast. I love doing these pop-up classes out of nowhere. It's been a lot of fun. So watch your email and maybe I'll do them again. So sending all of you lots and lots of love, and have a wonderful day.